The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Ivey.
I want to thank all of you all for coming to testify today. Mr. Dunn and your family in particular, I want to commend you, actually. You've turned a tragedy in your family into action. That's making a difference in your community and your state. I was especially appreciative of your comments about the effort to legalize testing for fentanyl, I guess in Texas, in this Texas state legislature?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I think it's important for people like you to continue that kind of work, bring that activism into the public arena, because I think you have voices that are immensely important. It's certainly an impact in my community. Just the past week or two, in fact, Congressman Trone and I were having to deal with a situation, a family that straddles our two districts in Montgomery and Prince George's County that's having issues with fentanyl. And I've seen recently there have been high school, I think, deaths and overdoses with respect to fentanyl. So it's clearly a major problem. I've supportive of your efforts to try and address it. I was a prosecutor beginning back in 1990, and so it wasn't fentanyl then, it was crack cocaine. And when I became an elected prosecutor in Prince George's, we still had cocaine, there was PCP, there was all sorts of drugs like that. Some of it coming across the border, like cocaine, some of it like PCP not. But I think it's clear that this is an issue that we need to do more to address. Now, and that's kind of why I was disappointed with H.R. 29. It's a bill, as I reviewed it, that was supposedly the Republican leadership effort on addressing these kinds of issues. I just took a look at the bill, and it didn't really do anything with respect to addressing many of the problems you all have discussed today, such as the need for additional resources to get rid of the backlog. I think judges and courts and the like to address some of those issues. I think Congressman Swalwell asked about whether 20,000 additional border agents would be helpful. There's no additional resources that are provided under this legislation. And the legislation raised some additional issues too that I wanted to raise. We got a letter from the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, which they submitted to the Congress in response to, their reading of H.R. 29. And their position was they asked for members to vote against it. We urge you to vote against H.R. 29 as well as any subsequent legislative proposals that would unjustly deprive vulnerable peoples of the legal right to seek humanitarian protection in the United States. And I know we've had a little discussion about whether this bill impacts humanitarian rights, but clearly the Catholic bishops had concerns about it. This bishop wrote this: most concerning is that the bill effectively expands the policy, that's of Title 42, without any exceptions for those with bona fide asylum claims, unaccompanied children, victims of torture, victims of trafficking. Protecting of these populations are delineated, and they lay out some of the statutes that are in place currently. Moving forward with this piece of legislation would exacerbate the harm faced by vulnerable persons, while also failing to meaningfully address the root causes of migration and the unsustainable conditions at our southwest border. Not only will the challenges we face persist, people will suffer. We must remain true to our laws and our nation's proud tradition of offering safety and opportunity to those who have lost everything besides hope for a better future. And they end with this. The Bishops' Committee called on us to reject the contemporary forces of division that tempt us with a false choice between our security and our humanity. Our great nation is capable of safeguarding both our humanity and our security. Judge, let me ask you, what sorts of resources and support do you think would be helpful in addressing this crisis that we're having at the border? I think you testified a little bit about the governor and the absence of support at the state level. I wonder if you'd elaborate on that.
Yes, I mean, they have resources and they should be understanding what we need. We're Texas. For some reason, people forget. They think we're maybe part of New Mexico because we're so far away from the capital. And so we need to be able to have those discussions on sheltering, on processing. Like I said, we could go up to as much as 1,200 a day processing. And all of these are individuals that have sponsors and they're able to move, quickly that same day. And that helps us to be able to address all the other concerns that we have of the other 60%. But I want to, real quickly, if you don't mind, just to comment on the congressman from Texas.
We will probably,
Perhaps we should, my time has expired, so
Okay.
perhaps we should wait until the next
we can
round.
get that in next round. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from